Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. Hey everyone, welcome to Al-Hafidhun channel. I am Najma, the co-founder of Al-Hafidhun, as well as your hostess for today. I wanted to share with you all my story and my journey. Before I share with you my story and journey, I just want to give a brief disclaimer. I am in early labor, so if you see me stop talking abruptly or weird editing, that's why. So, okay, I wanted to share with you all my story and my journey on how I went from being a Catholic to a Muslim to a Hafidha of Quran. Up until I was about 8 years old, my family and I were Catholics. I went to a Catholic school, and I remember the day when my mother asked me how I felt about being a Muslim. And I had seen what Muslims looked like. I had seen what they did, and it all seemed so fascinating to me. I loved their printed khimars that I saw the women wearing. I always heard them doing this special greeting that they gave one another when they saw each other. And I just thought that was so beautiful and connecting. And it's like, wow, they're so decent. They're so nice. And what I was around on a day to day was completely opposite. And I didn't feel that same aura, if you would say. So when we accepted Islam, it was mid school year. Now remember, I was in Catholic school, so it was mid school year, and my mom told me once the school year was over, I wouldn't be going to the Catholic school anymore. So I went to Catholic school during the week and the masjid for Islamic studies on the weekend. I literally remember Friday when my mom would pick me up from the after school program, and we were in the car. She would hand me my khimar, my overgarment. And when I tell you this was like the best feeling ever, I felt like I was putting on my badge of honor. Like, yeah, I'm Muslim. We're going to the masjid. I'm going to learn stuff. So, um, as the school year drew to an end, and the teachers would ask us, like, oh, what's your plans? We hope to see you guys next year, so on and so forth. And I remember feeling so proud and happy to tell my teacher that that was my last year. So my teacher's like, oh, well, where are you going to go? Because this particular school had been the family school. So my mom had gone there, my uncle had gone there, my cousins. This was like the staple school of the family. So yeah, my teacher's like, yeah, so what are you going to do? Where are you going? So I was like, I'm Muslim now. I wear khimars on the weekend. I learn about Allah. Like, and I can never forget the look on her face. She was mortified. She was confused. And I know most people probably would think, like, this poor child, her mom's forcing her to cover her hair and, weird things that they say. But what I wish I knew how to communicate back then was, although I was a young child, I still had some level of understanding. Like, I remember being in Bible studies class and feeling intrigued yet lost at the same time. Like, I loved all the stories I would hear, but when it came to asking my teachers questions, some questions didn't have answers to. Or they would say things like, you just have to believe it. And it's like, well, how can I believe something that doesn't even make sense? I'm just trying to get an understanding of all of this. And I remember attending mass in the church and just feeling so disconnected. Um, but now being a Muslim and learning about Islam and having all of my questions answered, I felt a sense of clarity. Um, and I didn't know everything, but I felt the room for growth. So fast forward, I turned out to be a striving teenager wanting to properly study Islam, Arabic, and Quran, um, and right in the heart of Philadelphia on top of it. And I dreamed of being able to speak fluent Arabic like a native and memorize the entire Quran and have a comfortable yet firm understanding of Islam. So I found teachers and I began to study. But I was only able to go but so far. Not only that, it was tough because for me, every avenue I turned, there were some roadblocks of the do's and the don'ts instead of just clear understanding. So I knew the answers were there, but it's like, where do I go to find them exactly? Why am I doing this? You know, why am I doing that? I needed clarity. So I began to feel the need to travel, perhaps travel abroad, and I wanted to go to the root of it. Like, no, I have to go overseas. I need to get to the root of Arabic so that way I can discover the true hidden gems that I felt was being withheld from me. Then I was told, oh, you can't travel alone. You can't go over there by yourself. That's forbidden. So I'm like, okay. But it didn't sit well with me. But, you know, so since I was always one that didn't just accept an answer without full on details, it led my family to think that I was the odd black sheep, that I was, you know, that black sheep that was so defiant and rebellious. And that wasn't the case per se. What they didn't realize was that I wasn't being defiant or rebellious at all. Rather, I was just aggressively trying to dig deeper for the truth. And I felt no matter what I did, I was out of options. And I wanted to learn, but my resources were limited, painfully limited. In a way, it was plentiful, but it was still limited, if that makes sense. Um, the resources that were available, that were considered solid, I felt were half truths or agenda based. So something was still missing, and I felt alone and confused. But I began to I began to lose focus of the goal, and I became complacent, and accepting, you know, what I did have access to, and what that started to do was lead me down a different path. But I always made sure to make dua to Allah, like, oh Allah, please guide me to that which is going to be the best thing for me. The next thing you know, my health took a turn for the worse. I was diagnosed with a chronic illness called lupus, which is an autoimmune disease. And I remember when my doctor gave me the diagnosis, and she's like, "You have lupus." And I said, "What the heck is lupus? What is that?" I had never heard of that before. And she told me basically it's when your body attacks itself. I'm like, okay. And I'll tell you one thing, she didn't lie, because I felt okay at first, but I started taking the medication because that's what they tell you to do. But slowly but surely, more symptoms start to surface. I had the joint pain that didn't go away. I would get random fevers. I would get rashes all across my face. Then I would get nerve pain. Then my whole body would be in pain. I would get brain fogs and just all these random weird things happening. Then I would get infections, and the list goes on and on. But just when I thought this cannot get any worse, um, kidney disease appeared. And they tell you that that's pretty common for people that have lupus, but mine was slow acting, but it eventually led up to stage 4. So I was literally a stage away from complete renal failure. And I began to feel sicker and sicker, and all the doctor's visits and all the medication lists, it just piled up. And I had tried everything for medicine, every steroid, every immunosuppressant, even chemotherapy. Ironically, my new field of study was in pharmacy. And this dream of mine, this new dream of mine, it no longer seemed attainable. I wasn't able to attend work, wasn't able to attend school. Then, without warning, my job fired me. They let me go. I was with this company for a very long time, was very successful with them, and just like that, they said, toodaloo. And I mean, like a great paying corporate job. They took care of my medical expenses, my means of living, gone. I had lived alone. I had lived alone and rather semi-lavish lifestyle, for a 25-year-old at the time. I had lived in a gated community, like the high rise, had the sports car, designer shoes, bags, you name it. That was, what I was into at the time. And now the capability of being able to work and go to school was completely taken away. There weren't any new medications that I could try. Um, my doctors basically told me, you're on everything that you can possibly be on. We're doing everything we can for you. And I felt like everything that I could be on and I had tried, they failed. They just, wasn't working. So upon receiving the mail that I lost my job, the first person I thought to call was my mother. And I told her what happened. And I'm like, Mom, my job, they fired me. How am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to eat? How am I going to pay for my medications? Um, I'm at a loss. And she responded and she said, I'm so sorry to hear that. That is just awful. That's awful. What are you going to do? And I felt perplexed because I'm like, what does she mean? What am I going to do? Like, it's like, that's my mom. Like, what does she mean? What I'm going to do? But it was at that very moment I realized you are a grown lady. Mommy is not always going to help you. Um, Going back to her is not going to save your situation. It's not, you got to put your big girl panties on and persevere and move on, sick or not. You have to figure it out. This is me talking to myself. Life is short, perhaps even shorter for me, so I'm going to make the best out of it. Not only did I not have income with poor health, but what a lot of people didn't know is that I also suffered from major depression, like severe, deep, dark depression. I'm talking being withdrawn, serious, like dangerous impulses, unwanted suicidal thoughts. It was bad. And that was something that I felt I could never discuss because it's like, you're Muslim. Muslims don't believe in depression. That's not a thing. You just gotta read Quran, it'll go away, you know. And until you lived it, you don't know what it's like to say those statements. I didn't want to feel how I felt. I literally felt that I had no control. Um, there was like this mental block in my mind that drove me to do these things and to think these things that I didn't want to do. I sought out therapy and I slowly realized that I needed to make a change. And I would beg Allah in through my fits, through my moments, in every salat and everything. And I would say, oh Allah, please, please, please do not let the evil thoughts and whispers that have infiltrated my mind to manifest. Please help me persevere and push through. Allah, you truly know I do not want to harm myself. I'm just in pain. I'm alone. I'm hurting. And only you can help me. Please don't leave me in this state, not even for the blinking of an eye. And then the very thing that my heart yearned for now seemed like a plausible option. I decided, heck, I'm moving to Egypt. And since I had already spent a few weeks there a few months prior, I said to myself, if you're going to be sick, possibly die from this disease, Allah knows best, wouldn't you rather die doing the things that you love the most, mastering the Arabic language, dying while memorizing, dying while being a memorizer of Quran, confirming all the Islam that you've ever known and learned to be true, you know, learning all of these things. And I decided this time, nobody was going to hold me back from my true dream. I was not going to allow lupus, my kidneys, nor my horrible depression to get the best of me. I have an illness, but I am not my illness. This is what I told myself anyway. So I gathered the little bit of money I had saved. I sold my things and I moved abroad within 2 months. I knew that I could live my best life for very little in Egypt. And although I loved being abroad, I still faced some new challenges. All the Arabic that I had learned prior to moving to Egypt over the last 10 years, I'm talking about, that I had learned, deemed mostly useless. The Arabic dialect that I was told to learn was basically a complete waste. And the Arabic dialect that I was told to stay away from now was the Arabic that I needed to survive. So, like, I just felt like, she just lied to. But I decided, okay, I'm going to speak with, I'm going to hang with, I'm going to live around the natives. If I'm going to make it, I have to embrace this change in this new society. Now, I don't mean, forget where I come from, but I wanted to be open to change and not just be so stuck on what I knew and where I came from. So within a few short months, I managed to complete the memorization of Quran. Now, when I had gotten to Egypt, I was already close to finishing, as I did most of my studying in America, in Philly. And because of that, I feel that I was able to fulfill my lifelong dreams of marrying a Hafidha of Quran. Not only was he the man in my dreams, but he also encouraged and helped me to seek holistic options to help me with my lupus and my kidney disease. And guess what? It worked. Alhamdulillah. So with our stories together, we began to build an empire. And we wanted to offer solutions for other Muslims that have had, similar dreams such as ourselves. The decisions I made years ago left people thinking I had gone mad. Like, what single young Muslim moves to a third world country all by herself? She doesn't really know anybody. And it's like me, that's who. I followed my true calling and achieved things that I didn't know would come true. I got the opportunity to travel to amazing places and I've met amazing people. And I have a life that if I could make the decision I made 1,000, like that, if I can make that decision again, I would make it 1,000 more times. If my story and my journey resonates with you, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and feel free to share it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell to receive notifications of more videos to come. And if you're curious to know who the other co-founder is, which so happens to be my other half, check out the link in the description below. And until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.